On today's episode, I sit down with Mina Elias. Mina is the CEO and founder of MMA Nutrition, a nutritional supplement company that is growing quickly in the e-commerce and Amazon space. He is an incredible guy. Hearing his story and how he got started being an engineer, changing his career, making decisions about who he wants to be, his commitment and dedication to process is beyond almost anyone I've ever seen before. And from a personal perspective, I learned a lot as to how to structure almost every aspect of your life in becoming successful in whatever it is you do. I highly recommend listening to him because he is someone that is going to go very far in life. And if we can just take a few of his lessons, I'm sure we'll all be more well placed to succeed. So have a listen. Hi, and welcome to Successful Scales, the show where I interview now successful professionals about their journey and try and garner insights onto any tips that can be applied to your business at home. Whether it's financial freedom or the exit of your company, wherever your journey may take you, the idea here is to simply learn from those who have done it before. I hope you enjoy and you get some value out of this. Buckle up and enjoy the episode. All right, Mina, welcome to the Successful Scales podcast, my friend. How you doing?
Amazing. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. I was saying before, you really came highly recommended by several sources. So I figured it's definitely worth, having a chat with you. And we've just spent the last 15 minutes talking. And so it's happened so many times before, but I'm like, we better push record because super interesting story, really interesting way in which you sort of look at growing your businesses. But before we jump into it, I'd love to hear, for those listening at home, just a little bit about your background. And I haven't heard the whole story, so I'm sitting here excited too.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll tell you my background, just so you know what if it's worth listening to me or not. Or you just skip this guy. This guy hasn't accomplished much yet. So I was born in Egypt, raised in Dubai. When I was 18, moved to the United States for college. Got my bachelor's in chemical engineering and chemistry, and I got my master's in industrial engineering. Graduated top of my class. Worked in Medtronic, which you know about. Medtronic is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, surgical device companies in the world. So I worked there. Then I moved to chemical safety consulting. So basically, I was writing safety data sheets. People were sending me formulations, and I had a very strong familiarity with all of the regulations, OSHA, GHS, which is the Global Harmonization System, REACH, which is the European version of OSHA, things like that. And then, I was not being challenged enough. Left that, went to work for like a project as a project engineer at this company that was designing radiant heating and cooling ceilings. We did a lot of cool projects. Nike, world headquarters. I was there. They flew me out, and literally they flew me out, paid for everything for a week for me to just go and check on some tubes. They're like, we just got to make sure that the tube experts are saying that the tubes are good. I said, okay, I'd love to fly out to Oregon, no problem. And then I ended up working in construction because I got a taste of project management, and I'm the kind of person that needs a lot. Like if you give me, one or two or three things to do and keep me in my lane, which is kind of like a little bit of how Medtronic, I was too caged. I'm not like an overly like explosive guy, a volatile guy, but I was way too caged in Medtronic. It was Covidian back then. In the consulting business, it was literally the same thing over and over. So after a year, I was like, this is kind of pain in the ass. So I got a sense of how I like that whole diversity of project engineering. Ended up in project engineering, project management for a construction business. So worked there. And then after like all that, I was working my way up. The boss brings me in the office. She's like, hey, do you see yourself in my seat in 10 years? I said, wow. And this is like the highest position in the company. I said, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd love to, I'm working hard. I'd love to get there even faster. And then I was like driving home, and I was like, dude, what is my life right now? I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning, hitting the gym, driving to work for 45 minutes, working for 9 hours. And I had to be there 9 hours because my boss would get mad if I came in 5 minutes late. And I was like, I probably have to stay longer, come before everyone, leave after everyone. And then, go home, like drive another 45 minutes, go home, teach kids class, self-defense, do MMA, and it's 9:30 p.m. My life was just kind of like flying by. It's kind of like when, like, if you have money in your hands and it's just like floating away and you can't like hold anything. That's what it felt like, but it with my life, not money, which is way worse. So I was like, this is, I thought that I was on the right trajectory. I did everything right. I graduated top of my class. I got my master's. I got like a 3.9 in my master's GPA out of 4.
Wow.
So I was like, dude, and my master's in industrial engineering. So I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was killing it. But then I got to that point where it's like, okay, do you want to work up the corporate ladder? There you go. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know that it was going to be like this. I thought it was going to be, you make $120,000 or $150,000 a year and, you're chilling, but it's not. Like, you're just working longer than everyone. You're more miserable than everyone because you have, more responsibilities. And this is kind of just my experience. I've seen Helium 10's company culture is on another level, dude. Like, there's company cultures where you would love going to work. I just experienced the side that wasn't. And so
I just spoke
like,
to Bradley, and he was
yeah,
talking a lot about it. It sounds like an amazing culture.
dude, I've been there. It's insane. It's insane. Like, I would have no problem if I would be scared to be an employee there because you would be so comfortable and so happy that you would never become an entrepreneur. But
Wow.
anyways, that's besides the point. Yeah, it's just such a good company
Well,
culture there.
it isn't right now, but anyway,
Yeah.
keep going, man. I'm
So
loving this.
so yeah, I went home for vacation to Egypt, and I was like, man, I'm working so hard. I'm not getting paid enough. I'm not getting paid according to my to how, like, because I asked for raises and I kind of like was shut down. And even though I went from zero to managing $12 million in projects, there was one day where I talked to a guy, and because of that conversation we saved $300,000. And it was definitely not something that we should have saved, but we did. So it was like, I was making the company money. I just wasn't seeing that they cared about rewarding me based on how hard I worked. They were more of like, stay here for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, work for 5 years, and you'll just keep getting small raises. And so I wasn't kind of interested in that. So I was on vacation with my dad and my mom, and we were on a cafe, and my dad's like, he's like, what are you doing on your phone? Like, you look like you're like kind of like very deep into it. I was like, I'm researching a ton of like protein powders because I'm really trying to find the perfect one. I can't find a good one. And he was like, why don't you make your own? I said, I already buy like the raw egg protein and mix the cacao and this and that and add some of this. He's like, yeah, no, but why don't you like make it and sell it? I said, make it and sell it. Like, I have no idea how to start a business. So anyways, I was like, let me look at the numbers. I did a quick feasibility analysis. If I bought it raw ingredients from wherever wholesaler, bought containers, made labels, how much was that going to cost me? Turned out to be like something. I didn't do it for protein. I did it for electrolyte powders. That's my products now. And I'll tell you the reason later. But basically, it was like buy for 5 and sell for 25 or 30 based on the market price. And I was like, this is a killer margin. You don't know about Amazon fees or advertising or any of that, right? So I was like, this is a killer margin. Let me get into this. I call a friend. I'm like, hey, how do I start a business? He tells me about LegalZoom. He's like, just go on LegalZoom, create an LLC. So anyways, this conversation happened September 14th. September 23rd, I had the ingredients at my house already in America, mixed everything up. I was like, let me test it on myself. Tested on myself for a few days. It was working really well. Said, okay, let me test it on my friends at the gym, MMA. Put it into packets, mixed it up, gave it to my friend, said, this is like a new beta tester group. Don't tell anyone about this. A company trusted me with this stuff. I didn't tell them it was my company. They came back to me. They said, yo, this stuff really works. And so October 10th, I incorporated my business and, I was like, okay, officially the CEO of MMA Nutrition, blah, 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 proud moment. And I post on Facebook, and this guy comments, he's like, hey, November 2nd, I have an MMA event. Uh, Come show up. I'll get you a booth for free. I said, oh, wow. Okay. I guess like this is happening. So I literally had 3 weeks, built a website from scratch. I met with a friend who was like working in some e-commerce stuff. She's like, oh yeah, get Squarespace. My website didn't have e-commerce, nothing. I just got a Squarespace website, put some images, 90% of them was stock photo, and then the rest was the 3D render of my product. And I just wrote about the product and stuff like that, and got the website up. Ordered a banner from Vistaprint. Got enough ingredients to make 40 bags. Made them at home. Mixed the stuff. Put the label on. Sealed it with like an iron because they were like aluminum bags, clothing iron, and then went to the event. So at the event, everyone's like, oh man, this is cool. Like I've been looking for this thing. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Yeah, this is like the best in the market. It's comparable to like Gatorade, but has no sugar, da, da, da. And people kept asking, I sold 25 units out of the 40 units. And people kept asking me, they're like, yo, I'd love to buy this. Where can I buy this? And I had no answer. It was the stupidest thing ever. It's like, really, I was like, how did I not think of this? How did I not think that the people who were going to show up to the event,
you've got to be the smartest dumb guy ever.
Yeah. I was like, come on, man. Like they're definitely going to ask you about this. So I was like, oh, it's going to be on Amazon soon. I just lied to everyone, said this is a soft launch. It's going to be on Amazon soon. Went home, and then I went like into this like obsessive mode of how do I get on Amazon? Start calling Seller Central, watching like 1,000 videos a day. Finally, after calling Seller Central, they're like, okay, we'll send you an email, sign up here, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, I had an account on Seller Central, and they walked me through the ungating process. And that was when I started reading in the forums, like you got to pay $3,000 to get ungated for supplements, all these like stupid myths. But then, they're like, no, we just need 2 papers from your manufacturer. So I went to a bunch of manufacturers, got the papers, came back, submitted it. I think I got rejected 4 times. On the 5th time, it was approved. And I was like, yo, I'm in. And that was like November, I don't know, it's like November 14th or something, or like it was literally like 12, 13 days after the event. And now I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I started like calculating, okay, if I hire my roommate and I pay him $15 an hour and he starts mixing the stuff, how many units can I make per hour? And like I start thinking, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just also get some quotes from manufacturers. So I get quotes from manufacturers, and most of them were outrageous. And then I went to this wholesaler. I said, hey, you sell all of the ingredients I'm putting in my mix. Can you just mix them for me? And he's like, yeah, sure. We'll make a blend. I said, how much? He said, $5. I said, done. I want 100 units. Let me send you a contract. I call my dad. I'm like, hey, I need a contract. He's like, okay, let me send you one of the contracts that I have from way back. Sends me a contract for using a vendor, and it had like net 30-day terms in it already. So I sent it to the guy. And the guy's like, okay, sure, the contract looks good. I just, instead of doing 10% down net 30, can we do 20% down net 30? I said, yeah, sure, 20% down net 30 sounds great. And then I went back. I said, hey, Dad, what's net 30? What does that mean? And then I was like, I see these like net 30 thing all over there. What does it mean? And he's like, basically means you can pay 30 days after you get your stuff. I was like, whoa, I'm surprised. I was a nobody and this guy accepted. So anyways, I got on Amazon, and then I was like, okay, now my stuff is on Amazon, November 22nd. And so I went again into this obsessive mode of let me watch every single video possible. Let me ask every single person. And I figured, okay, I got to get reviews on my product. I got to like run some crazy PPC. And then, I got deep, started running PPC, started asking people for reviews. And, bit by bit, my sales started going up and up and up. And ever since then, man, it's just been like one mistake, one lesson after the next, and growing. Eventually, April 31st, they fired me from that job. They clearly noticed that I didn't give a shit anymore.
What year was this?
This is 2018. So September 2018 is when I had the idea. April 31st, 2019 is when I got fired.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so I said the whole thing happened within like 6 months. But by then I was already doing $4,000 a month in profits on Amazon. So I was driving home from work and I was like, well, this is kind of a relief because I hated it. You know, I was so depressed at that job, but I was like, okay, now I'm like really on my own. Like, dude, I got to figure this out. So I ran the numbers. I said, considering how much my bills are, even if I have one bad month on Amazon, I'm screwed because I'm not going to have enough cash flow. Or if I'm using all of my Amazon profits to pay my bills, then I can't reinvest into the business. It's really not scalable. Like I did the numbers, it's not going to grow. So I decided to pack everything up. I told my roommates I'm out. We got out of the house we're in. I packed everything, put it in a car, slept on a couch for 2 weeks, and then I was on a plane out. I actually spent those few weeks traveling to like California. I was in Connecticut back then. Traveling to California, Vegas, Miami. I was trying to figure out where to move to next because I kind of hated Connecticut and the weather and everything. And I was like, okay. I decided on LA, packed my stuff, parked my car at church, flew out to Egypt for 4 months to save money. My bills were like $500 a month back then, and by the end of the 4 months, my Amazon business was doing 10,000 a month in profit. So I was like, okay, cool. Now I can kind of like, you know, keep it conservative, live in LA. I'm not gonna like live lavishly, and you know, I can take, you know, let's say 30-40% of my profits and live off of them. Then from there, you know, it was insane because once I came to LA, I started like an Amazon seller meetup. I started networking more aggressively and getting more and more into business. I started a second business, a second supplement business. Now I have four. And then I started, I got really good at PPC, started giving value. Then people kept asking me to consult on PPC. I said, I really don't want to trade my time for money. And then ended up creating a course. So, and then, from there, just kept growing and growing and growing. And now my main focus is just building brands, doing a little bit of acquisition. So I invested in one brand, bought it and to grow it and scale it. And really, kind of my system has been to build an incredibly strong back office. Think of it as like my own personal agency that works on the businesses for me to build brands, acquire brands. As a fighter and as someone with a chemical engineering and chemistry degree and like a very obsessive supplement user, I definitely
what can you not do, mate? What can
no.
you not do? I took a note.
Listen, to become an MMA fighter, all I did was in 2013, I went to the gym and I said, I want to try a class. And then I signed up for a year. That's it. That's all it takes. And then you just got to work hard and get punched in the face every single day.
Have you had fights?
Yeah. I had 4.
How'd you go?
Good. I won. And there was one that was
shocking.
Shocking. Yeah, there was one that was a draw. No, my first jiu-jitsu tournament ever, I lost. So, dude, I had my friends come with me and stuff like that. I was 6 months into training, and literally, I'm not like a 180 pounder, right? Right now I'm like at 169 at 5'10. So I was in the 180 division. Up to 185.
Okay,
and so I go up against this guy and he's like this fat guy, and like we start wrestling and then he just falls on me, and then he's so heavy because like he's actually a 185er. I'm just like not supposed to be a 185er. Yeah. And I'm like moving, I can't really, and it's like 4 minutes of like some guy being on top of me, and that's it. They're like, okay, you're done, go home. And
it's so exhausting. It's so exhausting.
Yeah, that was my first ever. So yeah, no, I definitely, I lost my first one. And then my second one, I got gold. And then from there, I just kept competing jiu-jitsu tournaments and fighting and do some boxing stuff. So it's been fun. I love it.
Wow, amazing, mate. I've written down a bunch of notes. I have so many questions for you.
That's my story. That's my story. I definitely like now I'm living my best life in California. I worked my way back, right? So I put a goal of like how I want to live my life, and I really like just reversed engineered the way to get there. And every single decision that I make is kind of like, will this get me closer to that life that I want? And because of that, I'm really able to, I travel like once a month all over. I'm going to Puerto Rico next month, Miami the month after, Hawaii the month after, New York the month after. So you know, I get to travel, I get to try a lot of new foods. My schedule is flexible. Like I just changed things up. So on Wednesdays and Fridays, my gym has an outdoor area, and the sun is really coming out now. I mean, it's always out in LA, but like now it's like right around 10. It really gets nice. So, you know, I love that flexibility. I love the ability to like work from anywhere. So, kind of, you know, that's it. It's
Mate.
been working towards that dream life.
Well, so okay, on that, how do you actually set those goals? Like, is that a regular practice that you say, right, in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or is that something where you
Yeah.
set a goal and you sit on it?
So what I did was, for the longest time, I think the main issue with the whole like corporate ladder is I was working from like the location, trying to work to something, which was not a good way to go about it, because why would I start from here? So now it's almost, I sat down and I said, okay, listen, what do you actually want? Like, let's whatever, as outrageous as it is, what do you actually want? Okay, here's my dream, day. I wake up in the morning, I hit the gym, I come back, have breakfast, whatever. Let's say I have a family, I have breakfast with my family, then maybe work for 3 or 4, no more than 3 or 4 hours building something. Then from there I'm able to do this. Then in the evenings I do that. Then I want to travel, and I just painted the entire picture. And so once that picture was clear, then it was like, okay, uh, uh, every single thing that I'm doing is how can I get close? Okay, I wanted a house on the water. So I was like, okay, I don't need the house with the infinity pool on the water right now, but I can move closer to the water. So I moved right on the water. It's not a house with a massive mansion with an infinity pool, but it's, every single step that I'm taking is like, how do I get one step closer to getting that picture into a reality? And it's like, okay, I could work this thing where it's going to cost me, it's going to force me to work 12 hours a day for I don't know how long, or I can do this and maybe I'm going to make a little bit less money or whatever, but it's going to get me closer to that goal, maybe I want to be in like the best shape of my life. So to get there, okay, like what's one thing I can do right now? So basically, once I set that destination, I worked my way back and I said, okay, in 5 years, it looks like this, 3 years, 2 years. But listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest. I've achieved a lot more than I thought I would. And I've also have not achieved certain things that I wanted to achieve. So don't really worry too much about like, you have to follow this 1 year, 3 year, 5 years. Just know what that end goal is, because once you know that end goal, it's so easy. Because you tell me, hey Mina, come on my podcast. It's very simple. Will coming on this podcast get me closer towards this end goal or not? If the answer is no, I don't do it. If the answer is yes, I do it. It's simple. So once
Incremental improvements and sort of like purpose driven decisions.
Yes, and there's actually there's a destination. There's a destination in my GPS. Before it was like I was just walking because like see everyone walking and you just walk in that same direction. But I'm like, dude, I don't know where these people are going. Now it's like I have a destination.
So when did this
and
happen
I'm just
for you?
going towards it.
When did this happen for? When did this happen for you? Like, was there a moment in time? Because I'm sitting here and I'm listening along, and I feel like I can. That's very relatable moments to me in life, but maybe not to the same level that you're planning it out, which has got me thinking I should really think about
You should.
You're
You
spot
really
on. You're spot. It's
everything
great
that you want.
advice. It is absolutely
Because
fantastic advice.
because listen, if you think that you're gonna get a sports car, like let's say let's say you want a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. If you think you're just gonna get it, it's not gonna happen. You actually need to want it and have it there in you, because it's not like, oh, you get a $1 million, you can afford it now. That's not how it works. You're gonna have to understand things about Ferraris. You're gonna have to go out there and you have to figure out where you can get the best deal, and you're gonna have to. It's a lot of work to get whatever you want. So just having it, like, say it's going to come to you, nothing's ever going to come to you. But once it's on your radar, you're constantly, trying to inch your way towards that thing. So that happened to me. I think it's hard to tell exactly when, but I listened to a few books in that period. So when I was in Egypt.
If you can recall, what books were they?
It was Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, Millionaire Success Habits, The One Thing, a few books like that. It was a few of those books. That was what I was reading at the time, and it was kind of like, okay, the reason that I failed in my last like chapter of my life is because I was just going along in that general direction, not knowing where it was going to end up. So then I switched everything and I said, what if I know where I'm going to end up? And it's going to be, this is my life. This is how much time I work. This is what I do. This is how much I travel, all of this stuff. This is what everyone around me looks like. And then from there, so, now it's like, I'm very conscious of even my friends, like, okay, I'll tell you this, I'm a little bit obsessive, but every single activity that I want to do, it's laid out on my phone in a notes. So wakeboarding, ATV, scuba diving, skydiving, barbecues, fancy restaurants, hole in the wall restaurants, everything is laid out. That's everything that I want to do. And now under that, there's a list of friends under each activity who I can do that stuff with. And it's like, you really have to be intentional. And a lot of people are like, holy shit, man, you're like doing everything. I'm like, because I'm like intentionally doing it. Like,
wow, this is
intentionally
amazing.
Working out.
This is amazing stuff, mate.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what I would do to kind of achieve everything that I want to achieve. It's basically to kind of lay it out there and say, this is exactly what I want. And then make sure that it's always on your radar that you're going towards that goal. And use vision boards. Vision boards are incredible because they really, create this visual that trains your subconscious, like, expect this. This is going to come. This is going to come. You keep working towards this. You look at a boat on your vision board and you're like, okay, I'm not any closer to my boat. What can I do now to get a little bit closer to my boat? You get a boating card, write some boats, things like that. Maybe see, okay, is it feasible to buy a boat? Well, let me see. Is there someone who needs to sell a boat, is selling it a little bit lower than the market value? I can push him a little bit lower, drive it for a few years, sell it, at a higher price, things like that, So once it's there, once it's on there, you can actually make your way towards it. But if it's never on there and you don't have that clear vision, you're going to probably end up like me, just kind of going in a direction. And I've even noticed that even to this day, I still slip up. I was not doing like quarterly plans. And I looked back. So I did a very good quarterly plan this quarter, but I looked back at the last quarter and I said, let me look at everything that I did for my business. And it's kind of like you're just walking around, like, you're just going here and then going here. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of things done, but there's no clear sense of direction. And I mean, if you walk, let's say 10 steps in every single direction, where you're going to end up, who knows? But if you walk, let's say 100 steps in one direction, you know exactly where you're going. So I still to this day make the mistake. So I sat down, made a quarterly plan for every single business. I said, okay, this is where I want to be in 3 months. Okay, how do we break it down month by month? Okay, what are some action items every single week to keep me on track? And kind of that's how I started looking at things.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It really is. I mean, it just shows, your drive and your commitment to whatever it is. I'm looking at you. Anyone who's listening alone, Mina's pretty jacked over here. So, you can see he's putting the work in. And also the engineering background. We literally have a whole business on the back of industrial engineers, CPAs, and people who are extremely process driven and analytical. And from my experience in having the opportunity to interview so many great minds and successful people, it's a certain type of DNA that allows someone, I feel, to build multiple businesses concurrently. And like one pieces of advice that I always was given, and a lot of people give, and it's great advice, is that focus on the one thing, be the best at it. Don't try and spread yourself too thin, but you have multiple businesses, and I'd be shocked to learn if they weren't all successful. Is there, what does your process look like when you go in? Can you take me on a journey? Because I feel like there's going to be lots of different businesses that you start in your life. And so what are you looking at? You even said you're acquiring businesses and you're building brands better than they currently sit. So what's your assessment criteria? What are sort of the checks and balances where you say, right, this is the right opportunity? And then how do you actually effectively build out that roadmap? Do you have something that you sort of, is there a framework?
You mean just for the acquisition part?
And not for the acquisition part. Like, okay, let's say you were assessing my business, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, great, okay, maybe it's something good. Multiply me, they can find me staff, they can find me better staff, cheaper. They're making X, 1,000, 100,000, million, whatever a year, etc. What does that process look like to say, right, this is the right opportunity for me? And then how do you sort of look at, because you're not acquiring a business just to let it sit and run. You're looking to absolutely,
grow.
To grow it. Yeah. I was going to say light up some rocket fuel and really turn it on its head here, but yes, grow it.
Yeah.
What does your process look like?
So for me, the process is I know exactly where I excel and where I don't excel. And I can tell you that I excel definitely in systems and I excel in my supply chain. And obviously that all goes back to what my background is. My background is, a lot of it is in supply chain and systems and things like that. So, and I'm very well integrated with my manufacturing. So the first thing I look at is I look at a product and I see how easy is it going to be to scale this product line. So if they're doing right now an electrolyte powder, or let's say a BCAA, or let's say a keto product, how many different verticals can I very easily build off of that, build off of their existing audience, considering that I have the ability to build better products than they have. Second thing is obviously, I'm going to improve the cost of goods sold and I'm going to improve their cash flow cycle because I have cash. And at the same time, I also have a much shorter lead time than almost anyone. So I know for a fact that I can improve there. So the next thing is I look at their numbers in terms of traffic and in terms of how much they're converting. So I'll assess external traffic and then Amazon traffic. I'll see what their Amazon traffic is and if it's kind of what the trend has been. If the trend has been kind of pretty flat, then I know that there's room for me to go up. If the trend has been going up, then I'm like, okay, maybe on Amazon, I'm not really going to add that much Amazon traffic. Then I look at the external traffic. How much external traffic are they driving? And what are like the new marketplaces I can work with? So can I get it into Amazon Canada, Amazon EU, Amazon, all of the different Amazons? Are they running are they on Walmart, retail, whatever? Are they running any external traffic, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all of that kind of stuff? And are they retargeting? So then I'll kind of look at the external side. How much more can we add there? And obviously just by taking the exact same things that I'm doing for one business and implementing on another, because I'm not looking for something that is, I'm going to need to do a lot of different things to it. That's not going to fit my model. I'm looking for, hey, I'm doing this. How much of the stuff that I'm doing are you missing? And if you're missing like half of it, then I know I can at least double, not double, but like I can at least add an extra 50%.
I understand.
So, and then I look at the conversion side, and that's kind of like always the lowest hanging fruit, because I have a list of like things that I can split test in a listing. So, how's your title? How's your images? What's your A+ content look like? The bullet points, description. Do you have videos? Do you have questions on your listing? What are your reviews like? What's your price? Have you ever split tested pricing? And then generally most people, if their conversion rate is like over 25%, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to add a few percent. But if their conversion rate is 17, 18%, I'm like, okay, this is a lot of room to play. I could probably add 10% there. And then, adding 10% plus adding all of that traffic, it'll add up, plus adding the different, products and verticals that I'm going to add. And then the one thing that really helps out is if this product or business has like an Instagrammable product or has like a good social media presence. That is something that I'm not strong at. So that's usually, so for my fourth business, I brought in a partner. Simply, her job is just that. You got to be the face of the brand. You're going to do the lives. You're going to talk about this. You're going to add value to the community. You're going to make feel everyone like they want to be part of this community, because I suck at that. And I mean, not that I suck at that, that I'm not going to do it. For my businesses where there's no one like that, I'm still doing other things. I just know that I'm not going to have like a first form type culture where there's literally people all over the world following my programs and like addicted to taking my products because of social media. So that's just not my forte, but my forte is in the business systems and the processes and scaling and optimizing. So, you know, maybe like just using data driven stuff. I'm very data person.
You're a pretty marketable guy though. You could do it. I reckon if you really wanted to, you could, but at the same time, you highlight a lot of really interesting things and things that, from what I'm listening to, is a lot of what makes people successful. And that is, one is that you are looking to continuously perpetuate where you're strongest and put yourself in your sweet spot, in that happy zone of where you're actually having the most impact. And you've even found someone for this fourth business to drive something that I'm sure they're going to be passionate about, that they're going to be really in their sweet spot. And that enables you to continue to expand and to build further systems to remove yourself from each of your businesses. So it's
yeah, so let's cover a little bit about that, because I know you want to give your audience. So I'll tell you how my systems look like and how I structure it for a business. So everything really should follow some sort of flow, and there's very few things that don't, because like, let's say I have a business setup. So when I create a business, there's going to be a flow. There's going to be, you know, file the LLC here, do this, do that, do this, you know, create the bank account, you know, create the products, create the new brand folder product where you're going to keep all the files, you know, on the server and all of this stuff. So there's going to be a general business flow, which is kind of like the one-time things. And then from there, it's simply continuous stuff. So there's traffic, your traffic. So there's going to be your marketing flow on social media. There's going to be maybe your retail flow. There's going to be the Amazon flow, or all the different things that need to constantly happen on Amazon. There's going to be a supply chain flow for the supply chain. There's going to be maybe a conversion rate flow, which is you're going to go and look at all of the different areas where you can improve your conversion. And so it kind of boils down to these flows. My flows are all visual and they're on Lucidchart. Very easy to use app. And it's simply to visualize, here's what it looks like. I also have like a flow for a new product. So if I launch a new product, here's what happens. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And it just walks you through all the different flows that are happening concurrently together for one product to go from an idea to being live on Amazon, where now it's pushed into the other flows and it's part of the system. And then, you know, like with any acquisition or anything, it's all flows. And that keeps everything kind of systemized. Because once it is, I can very easily identify where a chink in the chain happened, because we're doing the same thing. Oh, there was a failure here, let's improve that. And kind of, now you're just constantly working on that same framework, and improving it will always make it smoother. So now every single block on that flow chart will link to, I have this Google Sheet. So the Google Sheet, it's literally the simplest thing ever. You think I use some crazy software or something for SOPs, but it's the first tab is a table of contents. And then every single tab after that is just an SOP. And then in every SOP, the first line is a link to a video saved on the server showing you how to do this step. And literally, if you just duplicate what you see in the video, that's 100% score. And it's created by me, or if I bring a consultant to do something for me, it's a collaboration between me and someone who's really good at that one thing. And you know, once the SOP is there, it's a step-by-step instructional detail on how to do it. Literally the smallest step, like go to the top right, click the X button, go to the bottom of the screen, click share screen, click about, you know, all of this stuff. It's really very step-by-step. And then there's a video highlighting everything. So it's so simple for me to plug in anything, any business, because let's say I start a new product. It's very simple. You know, you go follow the new product flow. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. And you're just following. So that's kind of in the framework of the business. Now, when it comes to my employees, I manage them through Trello boards. I like Trello because it's very easy, like, to look at the tasks. And usually every employee will have tasks to do, tasks in progress, ready for review, completed, you know, a couple of resource tabs, maybe logins or whatever. And in those things that they have to do, whenever I give them something to do, it's their responsibility to ask me when they need it by, what's the priority, create that task in Trello, and then as they work on it, move it. Now, every single day, each employee, they have something called a daily checklist. It's a task in Trello. You click on it, and there's a checklist of every single thing that I want you to check on. Whether it's look to make sure that we don't have any hijackers, you know, create one blog post, whatever it is. There's a daily checklist of every single thing. If you go through and you click check on every single thing, I know that you've done everything that you need to do, so nothing is being missed. So the daily checklist is dated, and every day they'll move the daily checklist to ready for review and then duplicate it with the next day's date. So every single day they have that fresh checklist to go through. And there's usually a daily checklist, a weekly checklist, and a monthly checklist, depending on the nature of the tasks. The weekly and the monthly are very small ones, and then the daily is usually a big one, because I want to make sure that you go through everything and you don't miss anything. And you know, that's kind of how the employees every morning actually have to send me a screen share video talking about what they did yesterday and what they're going to do today, while showing me their Trello board. It's not for any micromanagement purposes or anything like that, but it's just so we're on the same page. I know what you did yesterday. I know what you're going to do. You might say, hey, I'm going to work on the hydrolyte recovery listing image. I'm like, no, hold up. I need the whatever, the neural listing images, because it's more of a priority. You know, that's going to launch sooner. It's more urgent. I'm okay pushing the other one back. So it's not that, hey, like, it's her fault or anything that I changed up the order. It's just me. I mean, I'm talking and I'm planning on so many different things. Not everyone kind of knows my thoughts. So that's how I make sure all my priorities are good.
Does that happen for, and I don't know how big each of your companies are, so I don't understand how big the teams are, but would you have a senior manager who you just deal with them specifically, and then they would go to their sub, or it's everyone reports up to you?
I haven't gotten to that point yet. I have not gotten. So the team isn't like really big. It's 6 people only. So it's not massively huge or anything that where I'm having any issues. But we are very efficient. So like everyone is really, there's no waste at all.
But six people in your operation would probably be like 60 for the average person, just hearing you are the systems monster.
Really, the systems make a big difference. Yeah. They really do. And I've seen so I do some consulting on the side too. And I've seen some people's operations, and there's literally like 50 people. I'm like, dude, you can get the same amount of work done with 3 or 4. It's just, you know, there's a lot of waste, a lot of wasted time, a lot of miscommunication, all like the constant meetings and all of that kind of stuff. This all takes away. For us, there's no really meetings. There's once a month team meeting to build like team bonding meeting, and then there's one-on-ones once every like 2 weeks between me and every single employee. I do eventually want to bring on like a senior manager to manage kind of the team. That is probably my next move. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I just haven't gotten there yet.
No, for sure. I mean, mate, it's really amazing to hear sort of how much you are. I mean, you're preaching to the choir as well. I was telling you before briefly, like we've got a business effectively built on building out better systems for other businesses in the e-commerce and Amazon space. And, you know, it's like music to my ears, because for people, you know, for people who haven't built, you know, hardcore systems for their business and have removed themselves from things that are not adding the most value, it's almost like taking a drug for the first time. You can't describe it to someone. You know, they have to go through that themselves. And
I think that was the greatest feeling ever when I had my first hire. And so I had my first hire way back, and I had zero SOPs, zero systems, and the whole thing failed. I ended up firing him thinking he was like a bad employee, but he was a decent employee. I just had zero systems and I had zero processes. And so it definitely failed. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do things the right thing. If you guys haven't listened to the E-Myth Revisited, listen to the E-Myth. It's a really good book. Clockwork is another really good book in terms of systems and processes. But basically, I sat down for 2 weeks. I logged hour by hour what I did. If I went to the bathroom for 3 minutes, I logged that. At the end of the 2 weeks, I got everything. I put it on an Excel spreadsheet, and then I prioritized it. And I said, okay, starting from the lowest priority up, I'm going to build a system where if someone follows this system and watches the video and does it, I don't have to do it again. I built, I think it was 30 or 40 SOPs. And then I ended up hiring for, and my hiring process is a little bit interesting. So I hire after making them do a test. So I make them jump through a hurdle first, and then I send them a test, and the test is screen recorded, and I want to see how they behave. Questions that are really not, there's no right or wrong answer, but I want to see how resourceful they are. Some things could be like, tell me 3 hashtags to use for an electrolyte powder that you're going to make a post about, and tell me why. And it's kind of like, there's no right answer to that, but I want to see how you think. So, and the whole thing is screen recorded. And so I hired my first girl. She's still with me to this day, 2.5 years. And it was insane. After she took over all of that stuff, I was like, dude, I don't even know what to do anymore in the business, because everything that I was doing is now off my plate. So then I'm like, oh, now I know what to do. Now I can go work on something else in the business. And so now my goal is to every single like quarter, I'll document for 2 weeks what I'm doing, and as much as possible eliminate that off my plate so I can focus on new things and new avenues of growth. And that all goes by building systems. So I know exactly what tasks I'm doing. I build the systems for those tasks, and I move past it.
Right, it's very impressive to sort of hear how you work your way through it. And like I said, I feel very privileged to get to sit in the seat interviewing so many successful people on the approaches that they take. Like, just on the back of this, for me on a personal level, got to define, and Christy, if you're listening to this, you've also told me to do this, but define what it is that I want to achieve in life, at a higher level, and work backwards. Like, that's something that you can only hear so many times and not do it yourself. But also something that I've been putting off for the last few weeks is exactly that, is that, I managed to remove myself from, two of the businesses for the most part. I'm still trying to remove myself out of marketing and a few other aspects of it, but I need to define what that roadmap looks like. I can't just sit and assume that it's going to figure itself out, and slowly, unless I put a plan in place and I define where my unique abilities lie and what I should be focusing on, I'm never going to get there. So just hearing how you work through it really sort of lit a fire under my ass to say, stop putting it off. It's time.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, man, with the whole goal setting, I swear, just do it. Listen to, like, trust me and do it. And in a year from now, I have no doubts you'll be living like your dream life. It's, for me, it's crazy, because I went from miserable to, like, literally the only thing that I can have now is like more time and more money. And like, I don't need that much more time because I only need like maybe a few more hours in the day. Any more time than that, I'll like start, feeling like I need to do something. Like, I thrive in like under pressure, in very high pressure situations. I thrive in like competitive natures, and like, I want to build businesses and grow, and I have no fear of failing. Like, if my business completely collapses, for me, like, the experience is there, because at the end of the day, I know I can make the money one way or another. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm just, I'm always looking, how can I get closer to that dream life that I painted.
Mate, unbelievable. Just so much value, so many great insights here. I know that we've gone a little bit over, so I don't know if you've got other calls today, but before I do let you go, tell me if anyone's looking to get in touch with you, interested in the products. I want to talk all things MMA. I also want to ask you if you know JFM Boxing in Marina. If you haven't, check them out. They're
No,
great boxing
unfortunately, I
gym.
moved to the marina during COVID. Today was the first day that indoor gyms are allowed open again. So I'll probably check them out, once things are kind of moving again.
Check them out on Washington. Super old school, great boxing gym. I loved it. But anyway,
Love it.
how would someone get in touch? Find your products, one of your many businesses? What's the best way?
So best way is Facebook. My name is Mina Elias on Facebook. On Instagram, it's more of my life. So it's at Egyptian_prescription_Elias. And yeah, I mean, you can basically any of those two ways. I usually answer all of my messages. You can ask me questions. My products, gohydrolyte.com. You can check out Shop Cognuro, COGNURO.com. That's the newest one we're launching on Kickstarter. It's actually a good product for everyone listening because it's a nootropic coffee alternative. So if you like all of the benefits of the coffee, but hate kind of the bad side effects, the jitters, the anxiety, the lack of like this, the messing up your sleep, adrenal fatigue, Cognuro kind of took all of that out, and it's like long lasting, sustainable energy, like bulletproof coffee almost. And a lot of benefits like ashwagandha, maca, medicinal mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps to like boost focus. So really cool, and it tastes like hot cocoa, so you can't go wrong. It doesn't taste like coffee. I know coffee is very unique, but it tastes pretty good.
Sign me up. I'd drink that any day of the week.
Yeah. It's very cool. So the whole reason I did the business is so I can kind of like launch on Kickstarter and figure out how Kickstarter works. I have no idea if we're gonna do well or fail. We already got rejected once from Kickstarter because they said we don't do dietary supplements. I explained we're not a dietary supplement, but we'll see what happens. We have Jellup, who's like a launch partner, kind of signed up with us. So they usually do really big campaigns, like 50, 100, 200, 400K, sometimes in the millions. So we're hoping, it goes well. We'll see. I don't know. If it goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't, it's cool. We'll keep moving.
Mate, that's awesome. Good luck with the launch. I hope you get through. And I definitely, if you ship to Israel, I would definitely love to be a backer.
I'll send you a special one.
Love it. Well, mate, I'll let you get on with the day. Honestly, it's been such an honor having you here. I've loved every second, and I will not. I'd be shocked if this isn't a success, and everything you touch is varied degrees of success, mate. So thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, Ian.
Yeah. Well, mate, we'll have to do a follow up once you post launch and see how it went, because I feel like you'll have figured out a lot more things that I'm going to want to learn.
Yeah, no, that's what I do. I figure out by doing, and then I'll tell everyone how it's done.
Love it. Well, mate, thank you for telling everyone how it's done today. And just appreciate your time.
Awesome. Have a good day.